You should be able to. If you're not, let me know. I'll check the settings here.
Okay, cool. All right. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm James from Stackswap. I see a few names that I recognize, which is really cool. So what I'm going to do here today is introduce ourselves, the Stackswap team, and maybe some things that you can take for your journey for learning clarity. And maybe some things that we could work on in the future. If you have some ideas that you would like us to execute or help you execute, we'd love to look into that for you. Okay. So quick overview of Stackswap. We are a decentralized exchange or a DEX and a marketplace for investors. So we believe in the ideals of crypto, which include permissionlessness, decentralization, and freedom of action. And what we do is issue and give users a platform to exchange tokens on the Bitcoin network through the Stacks blockchain. And we want to create a next generation DEX to support the future growth of DeFi projects built on Bitcoin. So we are built and building. We're always adding new products, but we're building for any user seeking an ecosystem to meet entrepreneurs with interesting ideas. So in turn, we provide a platform for entrepreneurs and projects to generate their tokens and meet potential investors. Okay, so some of our products on here, we'll do an overview of those two. So the first is our swap function. This function is very simple. It allows users to swap from token X to token Y in an easy step. This should be rather straightforward. Again, I'm not sure how far along you are in your journey of learning clarity, but I would think that this should be well within your reach by the end of your program. The next is our pool function. So the pool function works together with the swap function, and they work very closely. The swap function uses each pool to facilitate a trade. So for example, if a user wants to swap from Stacks to USDA, the swap contract would employ the pool that has both of these tokens in the pool. And the price of each swap from STX to USDA or USDA to STX would be set by the ratio of the tokens in each pool. You can see some of the amounts that are in some of these pools, and I would say the majority of them are given by users who have acquired these tokens who are not on those specific teams, right? So we're very much decentralized even in the liquidity section of this. So on Stackswap, and you'll see this in our contracts, there's a 0.3% transaction fee for swaps, and I think that's a pretty normal figure for across crypto. And we distribute this 0.3% with 0.25% going to liquidity providers who are providing the liquidity, and 0.05% to the Stackswap platform. All right, now that we have the pool set up, then we can look at the farms, where farms are used to promote long-term growth of both the platform and the projects that are active on it. So when users add liquidity to existing pools on Stackswap, like we saw on the previous page, they're given LP tokens, which are kind of like a receipt that, and it's to show proof that you have added liquidity to this specific pool. So once a user wants to pull their liquidity back out, they will exchange and return their LP tokens to get their original tokens back. So farms will use these exact LP tokens. The LP tokens have corresponding pools that can be locked in for a period of time, and that can be determined by the user at the time of locking in. So from our previous example, the LP tokens corresponding to the STX USDA pool can be deposited for additional rewards paid out in tokens. So for Stackswap on our side, it works because we're able to provide a more consistent amount of liquidity in these pools. And for users, it is just another way to earn additional rewards for no extra cost. Excuse me while I took a drink. So staking works very similarly to farming, but it's specifically catered to the tokens that we work with on Stackswap, or that we have created. So you can do it with either Stackswap tokens or LBTC. LBTC is our version of pegged Bitcoin. So by staking either of these tokens, the user is given additional Stackswap tokens as well as the STSW tokens, which are like LP tokens in the sense that they're receipts for staking. But in this case, the VSTSW tokens can be used in our governance portion to vote for changes made to the platform. And the last feature I'll cover today, we have a couple more, but the last feature I'll cover today is the token launchpad. So we have two parts, as you can see, the token creation, or launch a new token, and launch new group farming. So token creation is pretty straightforward, especially when you're creating a SIP10 standard token. There are a few details like token name, ticker, token supply, token decimal, as well as setting of its price relative to the Stackswap token within a pool. So just like we mentioned before, the ratios between the tokens, between two tokens in a pool, set the price for each of them when you're swapping from X to Y. You do that automatically when you create a token on our launchpad. Now, group farming is our newest product that allows projects to decide which other projects they would like to work with, or to reward their users for holding their tokens. So these were very brief walkthroughs. We could spend much more time doing this, but you can see all of our walkthroughs on our Medium page, and they'll be in very good great detail, like step by step, on how to accomplish these. And if you have any more questions, you're welcome to ask them in our Discord or Twitter, anywhere. So this is our contract ecosystem, without a few contracts that we've added recently, like group farming and other newer contracts. And since this is a Clarity camp, I thought it would be helpful to help everyone visualize the step we went through in contract development and ecosystem and platform development to get to where we are now. So this isn't the most updated chart we have, but I think it's still very useful. So it might look a little complicated at first glance, but I'll walk us through and at least visualize how our contract ecosystem progressed from just a token to what we have now. Okay, so first we have the Stackswap token. Obviously, this is our first step before we implement other contracts that are important to what we want to build. I think that, especially for projects, a token can be very useful, not just as a utility token, but also in terms of branding. You can airdrop something, you can offer it up as a reward, and you can gain a lot of attention by doing that. Okay, and next is the Stackswap token. So governance was always an important issue for us to implement because we believe in as much decentralization as possible. So, I think if you want to have a healthy ecosystem that has a long-term view, it's really important to have a community aspect to it, and it's not just the head team that controls everything. Not that we would want to anyways. It's really good to have outside opinions come in, and I think governance and DAOs can really help you achieve those goals. So now that we have the Stackswap token, we can start creating the governance contract, which also takes us through to the DAO contract. And this was the most basic portion, before we even set up any products like swap and pool. This was the most basic steps that we had to go through in order to be more decentralized and achieve what we wanted to achieve. So like we went through earlier, the first functionality we wanted to create was the basic swap. That meant we also had to create the logic for calculating the ownership percentage of liquidity pools. So with that logic, we also had to make sure we could create the pools by pairing tokens. So we had to work on both of those logics at once so that we could facilitate swaps between token X and Y. And to go into a little bit more detail about how the liquidity token logic was, maybe a challenge for us. If I could set it up or help you visualize, it's, you have these users adding their liquidity into a pool, but the first person adding liquidity into the pool sets the ratio, and everyone after who follows will follow that same ratio within the pool, so they don't change the prices. And it can be a challenge to figure out, okay, this one person put in a certain amount of tokens and the next person put in double the amount of tokens. Obviously, you have the next person who owns a lot more of the pool, but what happens when there's an even bigger one coming in, or one of the larger liquidity providers leaves the pool? How does that change some of the prices and the ratios of the tokens within it? So that was some of the logic in terms of coding that we had to figure out how to solve. Okay, so with the liquidity pools and swap function and LP token setup, we could create the farms to help reward long-term holders and early adopters of our token. So this was early on in our platform, probably a year and a half ago that we were setting this up. So in the contract logic sense, as I mentioned, farming is very similar to staking. So we could easily create the next stage with Stackswap and LBTC token staking. And finally, we have our one-step mint contract, which is the token launch contract on the token launchpad. I will go through a little bit more of this later because I feel that particularly group farming may be a useful tool for everyone in this, looking at this presentation. So, to maybe look at some of the differences and one of the reasonings why we made our token launchpad. Excuse me. So we created a token launchpad because Ethereum has a function called create2 that allows smart contracts to create other contracts. So you could easily have a contract that could pump out tokens. So far, Clarity does not have that function, which in my opinion is good for safety purposes. So for our launchpad, we created template tokens to have updated metadata later on. So we have all these tokens with information that it hasn't been filled in yet, and allows you to fill it in on the token launchpad. So some of the issues, however, that we have run into is on the Hero Wallet side, with Hero Wallet not showing updated token information until we email them a list specifically, and they have to manually update it. It didn't used to be like this. It worked perfectly fine before the last update. So we're still working with them, trying to figure out what happened there. Maybe the next update will magically fix that too. And another issue is, from the user side, user issues, because they see that the token information does not update immediately on the Hero Wallet. And sometimes the act of creating a token can be scary because it feels like such a big step. So, and it is a big step, but I don't think the creation itself is the scary part. It's the planning around it that it requires a lot more work. The token can be very, very quick. So, what we were trying to figure out for this session is where we can help you. Okay, so I would say that the most interesting part for those studying Clarity, outside of looking at our contract codes, is in the token launchpad. So just to go over it quickly again, the token creation can be pretty simple, and I would think that this should be within your reach at the end of your program with Clarity Camp. And a couple other things to consider when creating code is it audited for safety? So sometimes for platforms that aim to have a wide range of users using their code that they deployed, auditing costs can be a real issue because there's, I think, only 3 or 4 auditing firms. So it's such a low supply that you know, they can raise their prices basically. So one thing about our token launchpad and all of our contracts that you are allowed to use is that it has all been audited once, if not twice. So it's a big time saver, security safe, and money saver at the end of the day. So other functions like farming and staking can be difficult to achieve. So our token launchpad is an option. So group farming on Stackswap. Again, just to recap, farming is a mechanism for locking in tokens for a set period of time. So for platforms and projects, it can lead to more stability in token and price movements. And it can also reward long-term users rather than price arbitragers, sorry. For users, also, it's a cost-free way to get more tokens. I mean, why not, right? If you're not going to do anything with it, you might as well have it give you more tokens. Okay, so I'm going to go over our group farming just so you can get an idea, and maybe you can also think about how we have set this up on the farm, you know, on a coding manner. So here on this screen is an empty screen. We have our target token. We can also set the number of rounds, the number of blocks that make up a round, and a link to the project. So very basic information. And in this example, we've selected the 0 token from Zero Authority DAO. It also means that any rewards from this group farming event will distribute 0 token. Okay, as we can see reflected in this screen, the reward tokens are in 0. But, you know, if someone from Zero Authority DAO would like to work together with other projects, as you can see, we have Bitfari, Welsh Corgi Coin, and Miami Coin. They can come together and create a pool of different reward tokens. So it's really, we're trying to allow projects to reward their users however they would like, you know, even if the other project is not officially affiliated with this project. If it's a really valuable token or a fun token that is high in demand, they can use that as, you know, kind of trying to entice people to start farming their own token. So onto the next tab, the token staking tab requires a certain amount of the tokens that are part of the reward tokens. So that means that this selection of tokens will be locked in for the duration of group farming. And it's, you know, you're also required to have a balance of these tokens for the group farming event. Another type of staking is carried out with LP tokens. So as you can see, the LP token staked at the top of the screen is the Stackswap and 0 token. So if you add liquidity of both Stackswap and 0 tokens into that liquidity pool, you'll get the LP token for that corresponding pool. And that will be what is also required in order to be eligible for these rewards down here. Okay, and finally, NFT staking is done with those who hold our, you know, we created a gold and silver pass NFT with this kind of idea in mind. Basically, if you would like to target gold pass members who are usually investors of large sums, because the gold pass is very low in supply. Then you can also set a priority assignment. So gold pass holders will get maybe like a week in advance of others, and silver pass members will also do that. But the difference is that with gold pass, you just stake it and get it back, and the silver pass gets burned. As you can imagine, the Silver Pass NFT has a much higher supply. Yeah, so those are our options. And you can see our summary tab, and you can check out the details before we submit the transaction to create the event. Obviously, part of this would be marketing on the project side to let people know that they can join a group farming event and get more tokens. But that's more on the business operations side than the Clarity coding side. So here are some of the takeaways I hope you got today. First, be aware of all the tools you can employ. We have the token launchpad on Stackswap, but there are more and will be more in the ecosystem. If you have an idea that you would like to see us try out or get our help, or maybe have it as the next product on Stackswap, we're happy to have a chat. And there are these little things that could potentially save you a lot of time and money, right? Also, there's a lot of space to grow on Stacks. I'm sure you already know that. If you have an idea that you think will be useful, I think it's worth to try it out. You can, reach out to many teams like us for feedback on an idea, or even just talk in the Stacks Discord, just float an idea out, see what people think. And know that you are in demand, because there are so many great ideas that already exist. We have so many smart people in the space, but these great ideas have difficulty getting off the ground because there aren't enough people who know Clarity and who can help get the idea started. So I hope you find a lot of confidence that you will be able to make an impact, and of course, find jobs within the space. And hope that wish you a lot of luck on your journey with Clarity Camp. And if you'd like to contact me or the team, this is our contact info. Again, all of our walkthroughs are on Medium. You can come chat with us in Discord. I am the most active on Discord rather than Twitter or anywhere else. And if you want to, play around on our site, try out some of the things, that is the link to our site. That is it for me, Akanksha. Thanks for having me. I think we have time for 5 minutes Q&A if you would like to do that.
Thanks, James. This presentation was great. Thank you so much for that. We do have a bunch of questions around the, I think, auditing. So one question is, are there licenses required for the auditor, or can anyone with Clarity knowledge do that informal review audit for your project?
Yeah, I don't think there's a license per se. So we found a few companies that actually went through a program. I'm not sure if those give out licenses, but we do have some of the OGs in the ecosystem, like Friedger, Elnow, who are prominent members of the community, who do help with auditing contracts. And for us, basically, they're also the gold standard. So if you have a contract audited by them, then we're happy to work with it or share it, or list it on our site as well.
All right. This is a question from me. So you are saying that it should be fine to get an informal audit report, and when you go to testnet and mainnet, is that audit, security audit, enough to get it to mainnet?
I mean, enough is so subjective, because we've had 2 audits. Who's to say that that's enough, right? Who's to say that we have had all the information, have had enough eyes to look at our contracts? I think it really depends on the user side. What are they willing to accept? Because obviously referring to the Stacks ecosystem, we have also had some exploits, which is unfortunate, but also I think is a good sign that people see it as a growing space. Like, oh, we're getting targeted now. So unfortunately, you only know if it's not enough if you get exploited. So
Okay.
a lot, I think it goes for a lot of things within the crypto space as well. It is very subjective, but you do as much as you can, really.
That is fair, definitely. Okay, that was about auditing. Are you, there is a question from Philip, are you allowing stacking in some way for MIA mining?
Let me see if I can find this question here. Allowing stacking in some way for the MIA mining. No, we don't do that. I think you would have to go through the Miami coin site. However, on our one of the tokens that you can launch on their token launchpad mimics their system very closely. So if you have a community-based token that you would like to look at it, that is very similar to Miami Coin or any of the city coins, you can also launch that from our token launchpad. I'm also just going through some of the questions. So what are the names of the 4 smart contract auditing firms you mentioned? I don't have them off the top of my head. We used Coin Fabric for one, as Philip mentioned, and also Tintash for our other. And as for setting up a city coin in your jurisdiction, I think there's so much work you need to do, like legwork, groundwork, that you need to do talking to city officials, or depending on where you are from, what level of government you need to talk to. But for launching the token itself, we can make that happen very quickly.
There is an interesting question from, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but Suleiman. So the question is, can you talk about the cross-chain part of Stackswap and any updates planned for Stacks 2.1 release?
Yeah, so we are, for the cross-chain part, we are backpacking off of another site that does external tokens, meaning like USDC, Bitcoin, and Ethereum onto Stacks. And we have made that into a simple step from, yes, you can just stop at Stacks, but we can help you create that extra step of, okay, how about I turn my Bitcoin directly into Miami Coin? So we can we can skip all those steps and make it into one step, right? We want to make it as easy as possible. And for updates planned for the Stacks 2.1 release, we're always looking, always trying to keep updated from the foundation side as well, so we can stay up to date. But it's always fast moving, so it's tough to stay on track of everything.
On that very front, when there are upgrades on the network, does that typically mean that you might have to upgrade your contracts as well? And you have different versions. Have you gone through an upgrade on your application yet?
Yeah, so we've upgraded some contracts before for our farming side, but that was mostly from security concerns after we went through an auditing process. I would say that the Clarity side has done a really good job of not changing too much at once. Otherwise, you would come into a lot of issues. And at the same time, I think for our side, we're more looking into less the Clarity side, but hyperchains is what we're really excited about. So yeah, I think that's everyone in this space, like, oh, how fast is hyperchains going to be? What can we do with it? Yeah.
So until now, I'm getting the picture that you are excited about hyperchains, but up till now, how has the speed sort of restricted the app? Is it a major constraint?
I would think that we've already seen a lot of upgrades. Before it took a while for a bigger, longer contract to be deployed. And you would see even, especially when there were, NFT events, and the whole mempool would be filled up, and it'd take you 2 days for a transaction to go through. We've already seen so much improvement on that end. And as for hyperchains, we're excited because we think you could bring in a lot more users, because that's the main criticism of Bitcoin and Stacks, is that it's too slow. Why can't it be like Ethereum? Why can't it be like Solana? I think, there's obviously a trade-off. It is much safer, but we still want to see how far we can push down the transaction times. And if you can do that, then you can have something like a exchange that works more like a Binance app, where you see all the dips and drops of prices.
Awesome, thanks for that answer. I think I don't want to take any more time, but if anyone has any more questions and would like to know more, I think we should be a little considerate about your time, James, here, and take all those questions and discussions on Discord.
Yeah, please reach out to me on Discord. I'm just Stackswap James in our Discord, so you can @ me, you can DM me. Everything is good. I look forward to meeting a lot more of you. We need you in the space, so we're excited.
Thank you so much. This was a great presentation, and thanks for your presence again.
All right, thank you very much. I hope everyone's having a good day.
Thank you, James.